Hello and welcome to Destiny in Detail. I'm Matt Lees, your pasty host, and today I'm going to go into some of the deeper criticisms about Destiny. Be a bit more critical about my worries for the end game as it continues and my worries from the expansions. Obviously, you've got an expansion out tomorrow, so it feels like a good time to just sit back, reflect, and maybe just stroke our chins like this, going, ooh, is it going to be good in the long term? Let's find out. So why, after hours and hours of having a bloody lovely good time, has the endgame of Destiny made us so angry? Well, I feel that the biggest failure of Destiny is actually kind of partially the fault of its success in one regard. It's unable to keep up with the appetite of players that the incredible gameplay loop that they've made has created. It's a game that seems to have been designed with the intention that we just pop on and play it for a few hours every day, but instead, me and lots of other people gorged on it. We gorged on it like a big endless piece of cheese, or cake if you don't like cheese. But who doesn't like cheese? And then we got frustrated because the cheesy cake, just choose one, whatever we were gorging on was not endless. And it came to a point where we're like, well, what do we do now? And that was really frustrating. I still remember well the fact that Destiny's endgame, when you first hit it, when you're first going up through the 20s, it imbues you with this sort of angry fog that almost obscures how you actually feel about the game. It makes you completely forget the fact that you're mostly having fun going around shooting stuff and mostly having fun doing all this stuff. And you just feel angry. And you're angry that you're forced to spend hours doing the same stuff over and over again, when of course largely you aren't. The rational approach when we faced this kind of sticky wall in Destiny, which did come too soon, obviously, I wouldn't disagree with that. But the rational approach here would be to slow down, to just start popping on for the daily challenges, get stuck into special events and get stuff from that, or just wait for the game to offer alternative ways to get materials. I mean, I knew that would happen, and it has happened now. They've made it so you can spend marks and things to get stuff, and this was all obviously going to happen, but we kind of didn't slow down. The problem here was, the problem is, no, I don't want to. I don't want to slow down. That was the problem. I wanted to keep playing for 5 hours a day, every day, and I wanted that to keep feeling fresh and varied. And sooner or later, that's going to be untenable. Like, arguably, the point at which you hit this wall, the point at which that became untenable, could have, and perhaps should have, been later. But it's still an impossible problem. It's still a problem that eventually we were all going to hit that cap. And fundamentally, this comes down to a conflict of interest that is just embedded in the game and the genre, really. I mean, we've got this sort of, XP bars and unlocks, and we've got this desire for completion, right? This desire to make everything work. And that isn't compatible with Destiny's plans, Destiny doesn't want us to just finish it and walk away from it. It wants us to keep playing it, because they're trying to make that sort of game. They're trying to make basically a kind of MMO experience, something that we keep going into for months and months. They've already been quite open about the fact that they want Destiny to be going for 10 years. How that's going to happen is unlikely. It seems pretty likely that they're probably just going to sequel it up a bit somehow in a traditional retail-y way, just because that strikes me as being how Activision tend to work. But who knows? They want us to keep playing it. And the problem is it means that it needs us to slow down. You've got to hit a point where things need to slow down, and that hits us in what I like to refer to as being you getting stuck in a wall of treacle, right? When it wants us to keep playing indefinitely, but just maybe not at the rate right now. I want you to keep doing this, but just slow down a bit. And the thing is, when we tend to hit this sort of treacle wall, this point at which the game is clearly starting to bottleneck, starting to slow us down, what we should do at this point is just stop playing it as much, play it a bit less regularly. But it doesn't tend to be how we react. I honestly think that the core problem with Destiny came down to the fact that the actual basic loop of just shooting stuff, collecting things, was just kind of a bit too much fun. It sounds like a cop-out. It's like, a job interview of being like, what's your weakness? Well, my weaknesses are I'm too honest and I'm a perfectionist, and sometimes I worry I'm just too darn sexy. I know it seems like a cop-out, but I honestly think that, maybe they should have been more aware of that. I'd say that, the problem is I just couldn't stop playing all the time, and I think a lot of people are like that. And it became a very big problem in the fact that you felt like you wanted to play it all the time, and yet there wasn't really anything to do. And that's like, well, why isn't there anything to do? I want something to do. It's some really crazy mental loops going on here, which is why I find the game fascinating. But Bungie have created a rod for their own backs too. They've made this world that's this detailed and astoundingly pretty, makes it a nightmare to just give us what we want. The broad strokes used as an approach for most MMOs is hugely forgiving of rough edges. Sure, that rock looks like crap. That tree over there, well, it's a bit wonky. It doesn't matter, because there's loads of them. There's loads of other trees. Whereas you look at what they've made in Destiny, and everything is just bloody lovely. Everything's very nice. There aren't really any kind of visual bugs or anything. Everything's just smooth. And that makes it a lot harder to expand upon it. We've got fed up with the fact there isn't enough stuff to do. And they're just going around like, everyone's like, well, when are we getting another planet? Bungie, when are we getting another planet? And Bungie are probably just going, fuck, another planet will take ages, because they're perfectionists. And unfortunately, Bungie's eye for aesthetic perfectionism has left Destiny feeling a little bit light in terms of what you get and how long it lasts. And unfortunately, also far harder to expand upon. We want new stuff. We don't just want a handful of new locations. We want something big. And due to the nature of how they've designed the game and the quality of what they've decided to put out, it's difficult to do that. But Destiny's real endgame problem, the real thing that has caused so many people grief and pissed off so many people, myself included. I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of this game. I love it. But I am aware that it has lots of problems and it annoys the hell out of me sometimes. But the problem here with the endgame to me felt like a traffic jam, right? In the fact that you hit the cap of the content quite quickly and then you're just stuck waiting. You're waiting for the things to clear up and you can move on and do new stuff. But while you're there, you're just recycling things. And, you're happy to recycle stuff for a while. Okay, I don't mind. Like I say, I loved Phantasy Star Online. I loved it, just doing the same thing over and over again. I'm no stranger to that concept of being the game. But we've been doing that for a while, right? And more people have been catching up to this bottleneck, catching up to this traffic jam, waiting for things to start moving again. And the overarching problem here that Bungie have to kind of work out a way of dealing with is a bloody tricky one, right? Because Destiny was clearly never meant to be a hardcore only experience. It's largely light, social, streamlined, quite inclusive. The problem is, though, that, we still came anyway, right? The kind of more serious, hardcore addicted players, we're still here, right? And we're tough customers. And we're tough customers who have been stuck at the front of this traffic jam for a long time. And we've been going through these loops again and again for a long time. And that makes us very difficult to please with new content. And out of all the people I know and all the people I talk to, the people who are ready for the expansion, the people who are just ready to just go, yep, I'll pay the asking price, I'm up for that, I'm up for getting back into it, are the people who tend to be a little bit more casual in terms of the amount of time they invest into the game. For these people, it's different. They've had a taste of some of the repetitive stuff, and for them, it's just sort of some extra fresh content, some things to mix it up a bit. Nice, more stuff to do. Oh, cool, fun. The problem is, because we've been looping around for a long time, the offering seems far worse. Because, on paper, what this expansion is, really, is just about, I'd say, conservatively, about 20 hours of extra stuff to do, thinking I'm going to put some more hours into Crucible, some more hours in this. It'll probably be more than that. But, 10 to 20 hours, that's not bad as an offering. But, unfortunately, in my head, and in lots of people's heads, I think it's impossible not to see that the reality of this, unfortunately, because the nature of Destiny is so based on recycled content and so based on loops. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. One of my favourite games ever. Like, how many times did I play through Diablo 2? How many times did I play through PSO? I don't have a problem with doing the same things over and over again if I'm still having fun. But the problem is, in this context, it's just a small amount of content being added into circulation. We've already played every mission and every strike so many times that we've pretty much exhausted the original content in the game. And that means we don't really want another 3 missions. We want another 10, another 15. We want it to feel like the circulation has been reinvigorated. Whereas actually it's just a case of adding a kind of a fresh lick of paint to like a couple of bits on the wall and not the whole wall. It's very difficult. It's like, I think back to Phantasy Star Online, and I was happy with just forest, caves, mines, ruins. God, I was worried for a second I wasn't going to be able to remember all the locations. But if they just said, we're going to do an expansion and add one new area, it would have been like, only one? And it's like hard to kind of find solace and find a middle ground in this sort of mental clusterfuck in the way that I'm happy with just this, but then when you're adding more, I want lots more. Like, if it's just a bit more, it's like, no, it's not enough. It needs to be loads. And that doesn't really make any sense, but hey, that's just the way it is. So yeah, for people who love Destiny but haven't really rinsed the game so far, this expansion coming tomorrow is a nice refresher. You know, it's something mix it up a bit, lovely. But for fans, it kind of feels like a massive jip. You know, the elephant in the room that really won't fuck off here is the pricing. £20 in the UK is kind of eye-wateringly expensive for something which, on paper, feels like it's going to be quite a light update in terms of how the game plays on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's possible that Bungie are all insane and deserve to die in a fire, but I can't help but feel that actually they're probably quite aware of the sticky position that they've found themselves in. You know, the price has already been locked. They've sold this DLC as part of an expansion bundle for the game, which means they can't make it cheaper because people have already kind of bought that, and then they can't add more stuff because it's not done yet. And, I mean, you look back at the way that the game was received, reactions from press and consumers alike haven't exactly been glowing with Destiny, you know? The consensus is generally that there isn't enough stuff in the game, right? You know, people felt like it was a bit too light. Suckers like me quite enjoy this repetitive stuff, but a lot of people argued that it could have done with more things, and I'd agree with that. And I can't help but feel that confidence in the DLC's pricing and content must have become a bit wobbly at best after this initial kind of feedback on the game. But unfortunately, it seems like a wealth of actual genuinely new stuff to do in Destiny might not be something coming anytime soon, which means we're effectively looking at juggling the numbers, fixing it up so there's still stuff to do in terms of, you know, pointlessly making numbers get bigger and getting shiny new things. And that's the point at which many people roll their eyes and walk away, but sod it, you know, I'm happy to just keep shooting shit, providing I've got enough tenuous reasons to do so. So the Dark Below expansion loosens up a lot of elements of the game, you know. You've got new gear, some new levels, and, you know, there's new things for players to achieve again. And sometimes even though you're rehashing and rewalking over old content, and a lot of people might be fed up with that, but whatever, a lot of us actually don't mind that much. As long as there's things to achieve that are meaningful, that's going to be good. And one of the most exciting things is the fact that they've reworked the raid loot stuff to make the repetition feel like less of a waste of time. Sure, there's still an emphasis on repetition. Some people don't like that. That's fine. But at least this time, if you're going through every time, you're actually always working towards something. I mean, I've spent the last month in the Vault of Glass waiting for one specific thing to drop. Just one thing. And every time I've gone through and haven't got that one thing, it's been a waste of time. I mean, I've still had fun. I've still had fun shooting stuff. But it's kind of like I got to a point in the game where there's nothing else for me to achieve. And I think that that is a big failing because it just feels like you're wasting your time. I didn't get my jacket. Arguably, this is my fault. And if you could just, I'm just going to have a moment of small violin sadness here. But I broke down my Epic Raid jacket for materials. I actually got the Epic Raid jacket. Epic? Legendary. I got it the first time I went in the raid, and I didn't know that it was better than a normal legendary. So I broke it down into materials, and I haven't found one since. So it's sort of my fault. But thankfully since then Bungie have changed it so you can see the numbers, so you can see the end numbers on items, which they didn't have at the time. So I'm glad they've patched that in so that nobody else will do that in the future, because my god, I think about it sometimes at night and it makes me want to cry. But yes, anyway, it's true that Destiny does somehow feel like a disappointingly short introduction, right? You feel like you get to the end of it, you get to the end game, you do all the stuff, and you sort of think like, it's good, but it's too thin. There's too much repetition. I want to play more of this. I want to get more involved in this game, in this universe, but there's not enough here, and I don't know when there will be enough here, and I don't know how much it's going to cost me to get to the point when there is enough here. But the thing is, it is a incredibly strong foundation that they keep mucking up slightly, but it still remains an incredibly strong foundation, and I'm fascinated by the future of Destiny, where it's going next. And in the short term, it seems like their answer is just sort of adding more raids, to which I only really have 2 words. Fuck yes. Because for all of the criticisms of Destiny and all of the fair things which are not good about it and could have been better, the Vault of Glass does a magical job of making everything seem much better. I'll avoid spoilers just in case you still haven't had a chance to do it, but hey, it's a 6-man combat puzzle thing that's exciting as fuck, genuinely gripping, and as much as I hate the word, it is genuinely epic. I don't want to discuss any details here because half the fun really is working it out for yourself, setting a time to meet, getting your gear ready, getting some friends ready. It became for us a bit of a ritual, you know? People bitch about the commitments of raids, including me, but I forget sometimes that there is something about organisation in terms of meeting up with friends to do something and putting the time aside that is inherently quite exciting. The information the game gives you about how to solve these puzzles is vague and it isn't quick to pat you on the back when you're on the right track. It's entirely possible to spend half an hour working towards what you think you need to do before deciding that actually you've probably just got it wrong and need to go back to the drawing board. And I mean, what they made was like a really, really good version of a corporate team building exercise, you know? You keep failing over and over, but you share ideas. You have these eureka moments. As a group, you have to come to an agreement on what to try next. Do we try your theory? Do we try his theory? You know, it's kind of incredible. And some tasks require that you pick a leader of sorts. You know, everyone reacting to the orders and instructions of one person. And then you all get some really shiny treasure and everyone stops to do a dance. It's stunning. And because the solution to these problems isn't kind of immediately obvious, it doesn't just pop off the screen and be like, oh yeah, we've got to do this. Hey guys, I've played a Zelda game, I know what we're doing, is this. It's not clear. And even if you play a lot of games, it's still like, what are we doing? How does this work? Because of that, it means you end up creating your own plans. The first time I went to the Vault of Glass, I found myself dashing alone to complete an objective that we'd invented as part of our plan, knowing that if I screwed up for any reason, the entire attempt was an immediate failure. Holy hell. I mean, this is something else. It's an incredible shame that these experiences are kept behind a door that's so difficult to open. You know, even though I understand why that's the case, you need to be intimately familiar with Destiny's systems to really have any chance of completing the raid. And I mean, now obviously all of this sounds silly because I've done the raid so many times that it's almost like autopilot. But remembering the first time and remembering how exciting and how innovative and interesting it was, it's incredibly exciting. And really, to me, if they can keep doing raids as good as that every time, then Destiny's future is going to be pretty strong just on that basis alone. And really why I'm talking about this is because the Vault of Glass kind of effortlessly undermines a lot of accusations about Destiny. A lot of people felt that Destiny was just another boring shooter, didn't offer anything different, anything new. It's just not true. You know, the experience in the Vault of Glass was something that riffed on traditional MMO stuff, but really in its own right still felt very fresh, very different, and wow, like probably one of the best gaming experiences I've had in years. Definitely the best gaming experience I've had this year. It just sucks that you have to work so hard to see it, and it sucks that so many people won't see it. But thankfully, this is likely to change, you know? The level caps bumping up, new gear being easier to attain means that new players or players who haven't put the time in yet will get the chance to experience that for the first time for themselves soon. And I hope that people are able to rustle up groups of other people who don't know what they're doing and getting into it, because it's great. Despite all the criticisms I have about Destiny, you know, they have shown, just with the Vault of Glass alone, that they have the framework here for something incredible. You know, the first raid proves that Bungie are by no means clueless about the sort of cool things that they can do with this framework. Up until that point, I kind of found myself thinking, you know, this is a really cool shooter. I love the shooting, I love the mechanic, but what are they doing with this? It kind of felt like they didn't know what to do with it. You know, they had this great foundation for a game, but where's it going? What's the end game? This is the end game. All right, cool. But elements related to the raid have highlighted some pretty big potential problems for the future. You know, people still playing Destiny now and still raiding every week. These are people like me are in for the long haul. There's a real sense of investment here, you know? And part of creating a world and putting it out there means that your creation isn't 100% yours anymore, you know? With films, this is something that is kind of critical and widely accepted, you know? Like directors like David Lynch have talked a lot about, he gets confused why the press want to talk to him about his films once they're out. It's like, once they're out, it's up to you how you want to interpret it. This idea of creating something and then putting it out into the world, and when it's out in the world, it's no longer yours. It becomes the public's, and how they want to interpret it is what the product is from that point. But games are different, especially games like this, because they aren't just finished pieces. They need to be maintained, right? But you still have to kind of vaguely adhere to this idea that it's not yours, especially when people are so invested in it, especially when they've spent so much time within it. It's kind of like looking after a garden in a house that you moved out of a few years ago. You know, if you do a good job of looking after that garden and don't cause any trouble, it might be fine, they might not mind. But if they don't like it, if people who live there don't like it, you're just a guy fucking up their garden. And this analogy doesn't really make sense, because the crucial thing is, it is still Bungie's garden, they own it, but it doesn't feel like that. And that's kind of important sometimes. The most heartbreakingly frustrating thing that Bungie have done since the game came out was related to the Vault of Glass, related to the Atheon change. For those of you who don't know, the boss fight at the end of the Vault of Glass had a system in play about how it worked. I won't spoil it just in case, but basically they changed it. They changed the way the boss encounter functioned. They made it more random. And that was a real problem. That was a real problem for me for two reasons. First of all, it was too late. It had become part of a fiction. And when I say fiction, I don't mean the story, because the thing is, Destiny's story is quite poor. But the world building, in the sense of atmosphere, in the sense of place, and the sense of kind of creating a believable universe that you feel like you're existing in, it does that quite well. And for me, how you handle these things, how you handle the raids, how you handle moving around the planets, it becomes part of the fiction. It makes the worlds feel real, makes them feel solid. And when they changed this encounter, that kind of changed that. It was no longer part of the way we'd assembled the world in our heads. And that wasn't good. And that was because they left it too long. If it was a problem, they should have fixed it earlier. But they'd let it settle in. They'd let it become kind of ingrained in the game, in our heads. Secondly, and perhaps crucially, it was a change that was made before the encounter was actually fixed, you know? Suddenly, my favourite part of the raid felt like a nasty cheap trick. And for what exactly? I mean, sure, it might slow down the progress. Maybe they felt the raid was too easy. They needed to put up some more barriers, slow players down, kind of, you know, maybe people were doing too well. Maybe they weren't expecting people to be nailing the raid so easily, so early. Maybe they had to wait till the... I don't know why they did it. But making this change, fundamentally making the boss fight much harder and taking away an element of strategy from players, an element which the community had already embraced, that wouldn't have been such a killer problem if not for the fact that there was still a handful of major bugs in that boss fight. And major bugs still exist in that boss fight. You go through a portal and come out somewhere else. Sometimes it sent 2 people through instead of 3. There were serious issues that made that boss fight broken. And there still are problems with it. And fundamentally changing a boss fight and making it more difficult before you fix the bugs was, in my mind, just a huge, brash mistake. I understand the way that Bungie has to kind of keep control of the pace of the game. And you know what they did with the loot cave was okay. Everybody knew what the deal was there. That was clearly something that people were abusing. We knew we felt dirty. We did it anyway. It's fine. They removed it and they left a little cheeky nod. Done. But with the Atheon stuff, it was too late. It was too ingrained and it didn't feel like... It may have felt to the designers at Bungie like something that they needed to change because it wasn't in line with their image of what they wanted that boss fight to be, but it was too late. And there's a degree of having to accept sometimes that it isn't what you wanted, but it is how it is. In the same way that directors, they might be able to do a director's cut later, but you can't change the original cut of the film. It is what it is. It might not be quite how you wanted it, but unless you change it straight away and go, oh, sorry, no, that's what it is. And you just have to deal with that. And this is only one of the issues I have with the endgame, but I think it's the only one I really need to talk about because it's one to me that best represents the overall concerns I have about the future of the game, you know? Bungie seem to be doing their best to get stuff right, but they're at risk of ending up in a loop of haphazard reactions. You know, for every old mistake that gets smoothed out, something new and unpopular gets implemented. A patch lets you buy materials using Vanguard marks, so everyone stocks up on them and spends all their points, and then 2 days later it's revealed that next week you'll be able to use the marks to get better equipment that'll be on sale in the shop. And it's just kind of like, why was that information not merged? Now, often there's a degree of nuance with changes here, and I'm not really making any judgments about the changes that are proposed for the expansion out tomorrow until I've spent a good amount of time with them, because sometimes on paper things seem like terrible ideas, but actually in practice they work a lot better than you would think. But anyway, Bungie's attempts to deal with community feedback and backlash have been pretty admirable. But a game like Destiny needs more than that. It needs more. It needs to be built and shifted and communicated about with a constant eye on the bigger picture, you know? They still need to have the confidence to make their own calls and decide how to best tackle the game's problems and just storm in there and say, this is what's happening, you know, we're in charge. But they also need to appreciate the impact these incremental changes have on players, especially when facing a player base who have been grinding the same things for a long time and are getting pretty tired of it. One piece of information about a patch can get everyone to spend all of this thing, and then next week it's pointless. I mean, that's always going to be the nature, right? With any MMO, there is going to be a problem with stuff becoming obsolete. And Destiny is no different there. You know, there is going to come a point where your amazing gun is not much use anymore. There's going to come a point where, nope, sorry, you spent hours doing that, and now it's something that can be done in minutes. That is always going to happen. But the difference is, with an MMO, these changes happen much more slowly. These updates happen maybe once a year. People kind of know when they're coming. And at the moment, it feels a little bit like a box of tricks being popped. You know, a lot of fundamental changes. Kind of expected on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, well, it feels a bit too soon. Maybe the pacing of how quickly they're evolving it, the pacing of how quickly they're keeping it going is a bit faster than expected. I don't know how to fix that. I don't have any suggestions, but they've definitely got some difficult challenges ahead of them. I mean, overall, there's a finesse to all of this stuff. There's a finesse to the juggling of this and when to change stuff and how to communicate it and when to add new things and when to make stuff obsolete. Companies like Blizzard have had more than a decade to learn this stuff. And to be blunt, it kind of feels a lot like Bungie are learning a bit too much of this stuff on the fly. It's a problem exacerbated by the way that Destiny was kind of pitched and advertising and marketing and presented really as what it looks like. It's bloody stunning as this AAA top-notch dog's bollocks product. You know, that this is going to be just the best. And in many regards, it really is top of its game stuff. But there are times when it's evidently clear that under the surface, it sort of isn't. And it does leave me wondering whether Bungie have accepted the idea that the only way to learn how to make a game like Destiny is just to bloody do it, see how things shake down, learn on the fly, and improve as you go on. Or if they really were confident that they just nail it first time, and have since been doused with a kind of bucket of hubris. But over the next few months, the big challenge that Bungie faces is ensuring that they can work out a way of keeping players up to date with the level caps so they can experience the new content, the new raids, because the raids looking like they're going to be such a major part of keeping people enticed, but it means that everyone needs to be the right level. But by the same merit, it kind of feels like people are going to get very quickly tired of the process of resetting equipment, getting new equipment every couple of months, just so they can keep up. And on paper, it probably made a lot of sense. You know, instead of having like a 10 level cap increase every year, you just raise it by 2 levels every 2-3 months. And then it's probably the same. But obviously, we're starting to realize that it isn't. And basically what's happening is each shift of going up 2 levels, it's looking like it might be the equivalent of doing that kind of MMO rank up quick, but on quite a regular basis, and working out whether or not they've got the chops to do that and keep that up without the fan base and without people like me eventually going, oh, I can't keep doing this, is interesting, and it's definitely a challenge. Anyway, I will be hopping onto the expansion tomorrow, and I cannot wait to check out some of the new stuff, and I'm sure I'll be talking about that in the near future. But in the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, then yeah, if you want, you can subscribe, because I'll probably do more Destiny stuff in the future, because God, I'm a sucker. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. Bye!